What's going on, everyone? So nothing like breaking news at 1 a.m. in the morning. This is why I don't sleep during this time. This is why I never get any rest during the off season, during free agency. But breaking news per Adrian Wojnarowski. Free agent Paul George has agreed to a 4-year, $212 million max contract with the Philadelphia 76ers, sources tell ESPN. George committed in a meeting with the Sixers officials and returns east to join Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in pursuit of an NBA title. So this is something that we all kind of expected, right? Paul George going to the Philadelphia 76ers once he opted out from the Los Angeles Clippers. And, there was talks and murmurs of like, oh, maybe the Golden State Warriors, they put a package in, but supposedly the Clippers, they didn't want to send him there, which is crazy because based on that report, based on the package, it was like Kuminga and Moody, and like it was just, why wouldn't you take that? Instead, you'd rather lose Paul George for nothing? It's illogical to me from a Clipper standpoint, especially when you have Steve Ballmer, who, the guy could spend $1 billion a day and it doesn't matter, right? Like, and you have a brand new arena, and it's like, why wouldn't you want to have as much star power for the new arena? But neither here nor there. What's the Clippers' loss is the Philadelphia 76ers gain. And Philly's already putting together a really nice roster, really starting to add pieces. They even were able to keep like Kelly Oubre, right? You saw that they were really starting to sign guys. And it was kind of like, okay, they're doing this. They're already starting to get the ball rolling here because they must know Paul George is coming. Right, Paul George must have committed, and they must have that understanding of like, okay, PG's coming, so let's start getting the guys that we want to get and start locking up some free agents to build this contender here. And in all seriousness, Philly, my opinion, they're a contender. They're one of the best teams in the league now with Paul George. Obviously, there's still some concerns, injuries, right? You got Joel Embiid. He's not been a model of health. Paul George himself has some injuries, playoff inconsistencies, right? Joel Embiid is not the same player come postseason as he is during the regular season. Paul George also can have his kind of disappointments in the postseason, but here's the difference, right? One, Paul George is still one of, if not the best two-way players in the league. I'm talking about specific two-way, right? You think of most of the top guys in the league, most of them are just kind of offensive oriented, where Paul George is a guy that can play both sides of the ball. He can defend the best player on the other team and still go drop 25 to 30 on any given night. He's a guy that he provides over-the-top shooting. He's one of the best difficulty shot makers in the league, which is huge, especially come playoff time, right? Where you need to get a bucket and defenses tighten up, right? He has the ability to just shoot over the top, make some tough shots. Yes, he might have a game here and there where, he maybe doesn't show up or he's a little lackluster in the playoffs, but he's going to have a game or two where he probably single-handedly wins you that game. And also, he's basically your third guy, right? Like, you have Joel Embiid. He's your best player. Paul George is probably your second best on most nights, but Tyrese Maxey is more than capable of just taking over and going off and dropping 30, right? So I just think it's the collective of these players where Paul George also provides just such versatility. You could play him at the 2, you could play him at 3, you could play him at the 4, right? Like, so he just gives you so much value if you're the Sixers. Now, you still have teams like the Boston Celtics. They're still stacked. They're not going anywhere. No one would be shocked if they repeated next year. You have the New York Knicks, who have kind of revamped their roster, getting Mikal Bridges, keeping OG, right? So the Knicks are definitely a force to deal with. But Philly, they're right there. Right? And unless some crazy sequence of events ends up happening to where, one of these other teams end up landing somebody that no one expects, I think it's a 3-man race for the Eastern Conference crown. I think it's the Sixers, the Knicks, and the Boston Celtics. And I think Philly is right there in that regard. Also, again, it's just, from a Clipper standpoint, it's incredibly disappointing, right? Like, many of you are aware that listen to this channel that I'm a Laker fan. So this is great from a Laker fan standpoint, right? Because the Clippers get worse, right? They're kind of, in my opinion, no longer relevant. I know that they got a couple signings, but they're not replacing Paul George, right? Kawhi Leonard can't stay healthy, right? James Harden completely disappears in the playoffs, right? It's just, I think Clippers are done. But it's just like, why would you lose him for nothing? Right? Like, why? Like, you're better off getting anything. Anything. Even if you get two second-round picks, is better than nothing. Right? Now, and you had, based on reports, again, you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. You're just kind of trusting these reports. Based on reports, the Warriors offered a very nice package for Paul George. And the fact that you just basically said, nah, we're good because you don't want to send him to the Warriors, you don't want to keep him in the West, it's just bad management. And it's just like, you're not winning a championship regardless without Paul George, right? Like, again, like, unless Kawhi just becomes superhuman again, like, it doesn't make sense. It was just really odd that they were willing to just let him walk for nothing. But, hey, it's kind of the Clippers thing, right? And this is going to go down as one of the more disappointing tenures for a franchise, right? I mean, they had one conference finals, which, I mean, if you look at it, that's the only time they've ever been in the conference finals. But there was championship aspirations, right? I mean, in most of the seasons that they were together was, they were the favorite. They were one of the teams that most people took to win a championship, and it just never came to fruition. But, now you look at Philadelphia, and they're definitely going to be tough. Like, seriously. I mean, again, Tyrese Maxey has really stood out and shown that he's capable of being a guy. Joel Embiid, Paul George, might be a little bit of a learning curve, right? There might be a little bit of an adjustment, but the beauty of Paul George is he's not going to take away from Maxey and Joel Embiid. That's the thing that's so great about Paul George, is he's a guy that is so good and can play off ball and constantly be a threat. Even when he does have off games, he still impacts the game in so many other ways. He can make the occasional play. He can rebound. He can defend. Again, the best player on the other team. So Philly's defense is going to be better. Their offense is going to be better. He's going to take so much pressure off of Joel Embiid to be great night in and night out. Same thing with Tyrese Maxey. Paul George, again, as like your third option, he might be the best third option in the league. This is just incredible value for a team like Philadelphia. And now that's just kind of rounding out the roster and keeping the depth and being able to add enough pieces to where you can win an NBA championship. Because it's going to take more than just three guys, right? So if they can really kind of round out and basically get your, 8 to 9 guys, I think you'll be fine. Because, I mean, you even look at the top teams, even this year, like none of them are really stacked, like depth-wise. They're really like kind of front-loaded, right? Particularly Boston. Most of these teams, they really only had like 6 guys, 7 guys at that. And even like most of these teams, like their 7th guy was kind of like a fringe, like, he's just kind of there for like 5 minutes a game. So as long as Philly stays healthy, then they're going to be a force. They're going to be a very good basketball team. If it wasn't for Joel Embiid getting hurt, Philly probably would have been in that conversation last year, and things probably would have went a lot different. But unfortunately, that happened. But that's kind of like the biggest thing. It's like the one thing kind of standing in these guys' way is, can they show up and can they stay healthy? If they do, again, good luck. This is going to be a very good basketball team. Very good basketball team. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that Paul George going to the Philadelphia 76ers makes them an instant contender? Do you think no? Do you think no? Right? They still need more. Do you think that it at least puts them in the conversation? It definitely makes them better. I mean, there's no arguing that Philly's going to be better. Right? And the East is just, it's so weak. I don't see a scenario where Philly isn't a top 3 team, assuming that they're healthy, right? I still think, the Celtics are definitely a threat. I still think the Knicks are going to be tough, right? But I do think Paul George going to the Sixers really puts them in the thick of it. I think it really puts them kind of in the middle, and they should be discussed as one of the best teams in the league. So I really do. But do you feel the same way? Do you think that, no, Paul George, there's too many concerns, right? Do you think that they all also overpay? What do you think about the 4 years, Because what Paul George would be 38, 39, something like that by the time his contract's up. Is that concerning too in and of itself, especially with his injury history? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.